Breaking news from Sunday, actually, and yes, I do realize this is a couple days late, but the Padres actually extended Manny Machado. I can't believe it, to be completely honest. I thought that he was going to actually walk, but 11 years, $350 million is his new deal. And I gotta say, for him, that was a great negotiation tactic on his part. Machado said he could get more money, and the Padres threw themselves at him to keep him in San Diego. Good for him, honestly, and I'll die on this hill. The Padres need Machado more than they need Tatis. Machado really is the key to them winning a World Series. I firmly believe that. And now they've got 11 years to do it with him. He'll be 41 at the end of the deal. However, I will say it would have been nice if the Padres waited until Wednesday after this video is up to sign him, because now I don't know who the Padres should extend. So thanks a lot, AJ. Also, if you know what logo this is, if you know what college this is, I'm proud of you. Really am. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dugout Talk. We are continuing our series on one player every team should be re-signing or extending before the 2024 season begins. Today, we are covering the teams that finished second place in their divisions last year, and once again, I'm basing these players based off how valuable they will be to their teams in the future and how realistically their current team can sign them. I will give my contract offer to each player, which is mostly consisting of what the bare minimum is that I would offer the said player, not necessarily what I would give them exactly. But with that said, let's just hop right into the video. Up first, we're going with the team that would have won three of the other divisions in baseball had they not been in their respective division, and that is the New York Mets. This pick was the easiest pick by far that I've made, even easier than Julio Urias and the Dodgers. It's also the first position player I've chosen in this series, and that player is none other than the polar bear himself, Pete Alonso. Alonso has accomplished so much already in his very brief career. It feels like he's been around for a decade when in reality he's just entering his fifth big league season. The way the Mets are handing out contracts right now, it's incredibly surprising that Alonso hasn't been extended or even offered an extension at this point. I mean, the guy's a free agent after next season, and the Mets don't really have a first baseman ready to go unless if they move Brett Beatty over from third, which I guess could be realistic. Alonso already has 146 home runs in his career. He's also won two home run derbies. He made it to the semifinals in the derby last year. And in 2019, he broke the MLB rookie record for most home runs in a single season with 53, passing Aaron Judge's 52 2 years earlier. Yeah, at the end of the day, Alonso is a power hitter, but for being put into the power hitter category, he's a very good power hitter. 261 lifetime hitter with an 884 OPS across 530 games. He also has 230 walks compared to 499 strikeouts. Hey, this is as balanced as you can get for a guy who hits home runs. I know the Mets have the highest payroll in baseball, but they do have some contracts expiring next year, and to me, they have to lock up Pete before opening day at the absolute latest. I'd give him easily 5 years, 105 million with a player option for a sixth year and an opt out after 3 years. And that is lowballing it. I understand that. But like I said, these are pretty much the bare minimum I would give. He'd get his final year of arbitration bought out and then an additional 4 years on top of that. If he takes the option, he'd be 34 at free agency. If he opts out, he'd be 31, still in his prime. He's in his prime years currently. The only reason the contract is this low is because of the Mets payroll. But in summary, Steve Cohen, you need to find a way to keep this guy around. Uh, it would be a disappointment if he ended up anywhere else. Up next, we have the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Jays have plenty of candidates I considered, but I am going with Vlad Guerrero Jr. Guerrero is really the face of this team, and if the Jays want to win for the foreseeable future, I think a step in the right direction is extending Guerrero long term before his current contract ends. He and Alonso came up at about the same time as well, but Guerrero is a free agent after 2025. Uh, that's 3 years for this team to make his tenure worthwhile before he attempts to test the market, which I don't doubt he would do that. But if I'm the Blue Jays, Guerrero is my top priority this offseason, if not sooner. Guerrero surprisingly only has 104 home runs in 4 seasons, but he's a 284 hitter with an 862 OPS. Very respectable, and honestly, this isn't even vintage Vladdy. He's capable of doing so much more. He also has great plate discipline for a guy kind of similar to Alonso, 355 strikeouts to 210 walks. and he was also a Gold Glove winner last year. He also finished second in AL MVP voting in 2021, and that was only because Shohei Ohtani had a breakout year that year. If it wasn't for that, though, he'd be an MVP by now. My contract offer to Vlad is 9 years, 275 million, with an option for a 10th year and an opt out after 5 years. Again, it's the bare minimum I'd offer, but this is because I realistically see the Jays also trying to extend some of their current guys on top of Vlad. But 9,275 with an option for a 10th year and an opt out at 5 is more than fair at the same time. This contract buys out his remaining 2 years of arbitration after this season, and then he gets a 7 year extension guaranteed. If he opts out after 5 years, he'd be 29. If he rides the deal out, he'd be 34. And after seeing what Manny Machado did, I would fully expect Vlad to opt out if he's performing at an elite level. Heck, you could forget the option for a 10th year and just give him 10 years, 300 million straight up. That would still be lowballing it if he finishes top 5 in MVP again this year. Up next, we have the Seattle Mariners, and this one to Mariners fans might be a head scratcher because of what the roster consists of, but hear me out on this before you grill me over an open fire. I'm going with Ty France because France is the perfect guy to have for veteran leadership in that clubhouse. Plus, they already extended Julio Rodriguez. He would have been my pick anyway. Uh, France by no means though is an elite first baseman, but he is durable and he will produce for the club when he's in the lineup. And he was also an All-Star last year for good reason. And since he's been to Seattle, he's been rather good. Since 2021, he has a 283 batting average, 354 on base percentage, and a 795 OPS slash line, 38 home runs, 157 RBI, 200 strikeouts, 81 walks, all in just under 300 games. He makes contact at the plate and he'll drive in runs and occasionally hit a ball over the fence. Kind of reminds me of Kyle Seager in a way. I think having a guy like France in the clubhouse will be beneficial to keeping a winning culture in that clubhouse. There was a reason they traded for him from the Padres. I think it only makes sense to give him an extension. My offer to France is 6 years, 80 million with a player option for a seventh year and a club option for an eighth year. This makes him 34 years old after the guaranteed 6 years, and after the options, he would be 36, which very closely would lock him up for the remainder of his career, I would assume. It's also a very friendly team contract that would allow the Mariners to extend other guys down the road if they choose to, because like the Jays, they have a lot of guys who are making a case to get big paydays. Up next, we have the big pen spending San Diego Padres, who, thanks to AJ Preller, once again ruined my whole bit with this one. Manny was my pick, but because the Padres have so many massive contracts already, it was way too difficult to actually land on someone on that roster. So I'm going to their bullpen, and I went with Tim Hill. Hill was a little late making it to the show, but honestly, he's a durable left-handed reliever. He's never posted a season with an ERA above 4.7, which I know is not great for a reliever. But the last 2 seasons with the Padres, he's been their most consistent arm. He's got a 3.59 ERA, 1.23 whip in 133 games across 107.2 innings pitched. He does have 37 walks in that span, and yeah, that's a little concerning, but I also believe in showing appreciation to your bullpen arms, something that kind of seems to fluctuate a lot in San Diego. They always seem to be going through bullpen guys. They also extended Robert Suarez. I think it only makes sense to at least lock someone down for a little bit in San Diego. My offer to Hill is not an albatross contract. It's just a very simple 2 year, $16 million deal that buys out his last year of arbitration next year, and then it gets him 1 year extended out of free agency. He will be 36 at the end of this deal. Unfortunately, it may be the end of the line for him by this point because he was 28 when he debuted with the Royals. But I think the Padres can easily make this happen. Padres fans don't have to agree with me, but you can blame Preller for this one because I just genuinely have no idea who else they could have extended. Up next, we have the Milwaukee Brewers, and man, I feel like I've been picking pitchers a ton so far in this series. My pick for the Brewers is Devin Williams, and even if the Corbin Burns drama didn't take place a couple weeks ago, Williams was still going to be my pick because he's a top 5 reliever in the whole game. And now that Josh Hader is out of the picture, he's going to get the attention that he rightfully deserves in Milwaukee. Williams won a controversial NL Rookie of the Year in the 2020 shortened season. I only say controversial because judging a reliever on 2 months of play to me is reckless. I mean, to be fair, if 2020 was a full 162 game season, he still would have been in Rookie of the Year talks, and then it would have been okay. I have no doubt about that. But what he did in those 2 months, it was a little interesting that he was the one who got the award. Uh, since 2020, Williams has a career 1.84 ERA and 141.2 innings pitched, and this is the absurd number: 236 strikeouts in that span, almost 100 strikeouts more than innings pitched, 67 walks to go with that. He also has a WHIP just barely above one. It's impressive, and he rightfully deserves a payday. Also, he's only allowed 8 home runs in his 3 years. I mean, this guy has been unbelievable. And yes, 8 home runs in 3 years. You did not mishear me on that one. In just under 250 innings pitched as well. He's 29. He's in his prime. It's absurd what he's done and how he was still living in Hader's shadow as long as he was, because he arguably is way better than Josh Hader. I will say it. My offer to Williams, it's pretty low. 5 years, 70 million. He's a free agent currently after the 2025 season, and if this deal buys out his remaining 2 years of arbitration and gives him a 3 year extension past free agency, it would make him 33 years old after this deal is done. And again, I think 570 is lowballing it. But for the Brewers, they don't pay anyone, to be honest. Bullpen arms making 70 million in a multi-year deal is still really good. I would make an argument he probably deserves 100 million, but I'm sticking with 70 right now because that's still a safe contract. And lastly, we have the Chicago White Sox, and this one was actually kind of hard because the White Sox, like the Blue Jays and Mariners, they have a handful of guys more deserving of a big payday after this season. But here I'm going Dylan Cease. I'll admit this may not be the best pick for Chicago, but Cease has quietly been good for their rotation, and I think he deserves some more respect. Last season, he had a career year that was overshadowed by Justin Verlander's third career Cy Young season, but over the last 2 seasons, he's been really incredible. He has an ERA of 3.01 in 64 games started, 453 strikeouts, and 349.2 innings pitched. He's averaging 7.1 strikeouts per start the last 2 years, and in an era that encourages pitching to contact, that is absurd. I don't see Cease as an ace so much, especially in that rotation, but at 27 years old, he's easily the two in that White Sox rotation down the stretch. He can be ace material, though, if he keeps replicating this. I mean, like, if he puts up another season like the last two, I think he probably is going to be their ace. To me, though, he can be a little erratic at times. He does have 146 walks. It's not bad, but it's not great. It just means that sometimes his command goes a little ways. My offer to Cease is actually rather team friendly on the White Sox end. It's 6 years, 100 million with a club option for a seventh season. He's going to be a free agent after the 2025 season. Currently, this deal would buy out his final 2 years of arbitration and extend him for an extra 4 years, potentially 5 years with the option. It would make him 34 years old after the whole deal is over, 33 if the option doesn't get picked up. It may be a lot of money for a guy like Cease, but to be honest, if he keeps this upward trend going, he's actually being underpaid for the duration of the deal. And that is it for part two of this series. Let us know in the comments below what you would offer contract extensions to on each team. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit the like button on the video, hit the subscribe button so you can be alerted when we post new content. And as always, we appreciate your support, and we will see you all in the next one.